When it comes to movies involving heists, your film stands out for its ability to convey emotional stakes without drawing excessive attention. For instance, Dylan Arnold's character Dennis grabs an army man figure off the shelf before embarking on the big job with his family. He doesn't need to explain what it is or what it means to him, but it's enough to illustrate his character's headspace, the need for a security blanket and or luck. This is a very lean 90-minute film that packs a lot of meaning into seemingly insignificant moments. The way you use these small details to convey character traits is truly commendable. Was this always the intention? Did you ever feel the urge to paint with broader strokes?
You mean out of restraint of time and budget?
Yeah,
Look, it's always when you're making a film, there's a feeling that you want to, we wish that you had more time to elevate into the small details. In this specific film, it was just like a clash of like the day. It was a clash of energies, you know.
mhm.
You're taking like almost like two genres, like a biopic idea conceptual and a heist conceptual, and then you're painting this, family portrait that is kind of like reflecting again between the overall meaning of the story on that day, and then you're blending into a mix. So yeah, I mean, I I should my motto was to just like you got to keep the tone no matter what scene you are in, and if it's in the small details that you're gonna hopefully pick. And it seems like you have a very sharp eye of how you see things, and you're more attentive to the little details, which is great. But even if you're not, then you're gonna find yourself watching a moment between father and son talking in breakfast, and you can be like, oh my god, that could be like the most boring scene that how can I dive into those people even and I don't even know them? And
Right,
and then in the back of the mind, for some reason, you feel the tension. You feel
right.
that something is going to erupt them. Something is going to erupt. A guy that goes to buy an orange juice in the department store. Right? So it's like apple juice. Sorry. So it's how do you basically approaching every moment. So sometimes it's really in the cinematic, metaphoric details, and sometimes it's just you're playing just like a very specific chord that keep you on the edge of
Yeah.
it, no matter what scene you are in.
How was it coming up with some of those details and working with your various departments and talent to create a history with these characters that can truly be felt? Because there's Scott Eastwood's character Regan having a scorpion neck tattoo. There's the music that Mercer listens to in the car to keep him at peace with everything that's happening around him. Or even, this might be my favorite, when Dennis is sitting in his room watching cartoons, eating a bowl of cereal in his undies, which reminded me of Emilio Estevez eating cake with beer, watching cartoons in The Outsiders.
And have a little drop of milk,
Right. Yeah.
which is a metaphor as well, to what representing that. Like, listen, it's a movie full of men.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think that is interesting is like you have almost like a rainbow of the different men that we have in society. You have the in between, you have the loyal, you have the sociopath, you have the geek, you have the guy that is more secure, you have the guy more insecure, the guy that he's racist to his core. You have the guy that don't give a fuck. You have the guy that has compassion. You have so many men here, and each one of them has, as you said, it like has like a stamp. So when I had to represent, you know what I mean. And again, I'm not saying that every detail is a masterful of originality of presenting characters, because after all, we have after 100 years of cinema and storytelling, it's hard to come up with, oh, I'm going to make. So sometimes you need to feel the guy is the guy like you expected the guy. Like, for instance, if you have Murphy, played by the Ori Pfeffer, that wearing that Fila track, and I just remember, like, that so many people at that time, like, that they want to even associate themselves into certain kind of like people used to have those trainer tracks in the 90s of Fila, and it does almost like a stamp on a specific who you are.
Hmm.
um so I think, yeah, so in everything, in every choices that you're making with the department, whether it's costume, whether it's props, whether it's the actor themselves, usually, that you're sitting down. I really, it's part of what I hope that the actors will do as part of their preparation, but it's obviously what I do with each one of the department, that when we're talking about the character and say, what can we give him
Hmm.
that when he's going to actually touch certain things, whether he's going to be, which car Ray Liotta is going to drive, what kind of person he is, what does it mean that he's taking the car to the show, is there's anything that actually get him a serotonin, dopamine rush to that guy, or he's completely isolated. And obviously, so it's like every details that we discussed was like from the car department and everything, like how does it reflect that on such a short time of a film. I didn't have 3.5 hour saga, or even longer on
Yeah.
TV, that you kind of take that story and to go deeper, and where's the mom, what's the relationship, or like, obviously, but when you have a condensed time, then every shot and every element reflects the character, and whatever it's surrounding it needs to eventually, in your subconscious, or in people like you that are more sharper in your notice, consciousness about who is in front of me.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, the hard work shows. So
Thank you.
good job. Uh, I know we're going to run out of time soon, but what is your connection to poetry in structuring this story to have parallel elements, like two parallel stories about fathers and sons and their complexities, or even parallel scenes such as Ray Liotta's Lau interrogating Mercer's son and Mercer interrogating Lau's son on the other side?
Look, I don't know how much you exposed, and I don't blame you if you didn't, to my films, but in every film that I've done, even if it's like the Netflix movie The Angel, which is about, you know what I mean? It's like I always have an interesting um, kind of choices, that the villains within my films are usually people within themselves. So it's kind of like when you're taking all those characters and eventually you're getting them into, always parallel stories. There's always, you know what I mean? There's always like, I never go for the obviously heroes. Like Mercer,
Hmm.
he's a convict. The guy has probably a murder on his hands. He's an OG that nobody, he's a gangster that try to correct himself. You know what I mean? And again, whether his approach to violence will be his villain, or whether his self-control will save him. Same thing with each one of them. Each one of them has almost like a little devil within themselves. You know what I
Right.
mean? And that's the kind of like, man, it goes the way all the way to the security guy. He was a cop, but
Hmm.
he left the force. Why he left the force? You know what I mean? There's like also something within him, whether he's gonna do a stupid thing. So it's like, yeah, that's when you're trying to make a film, you want to have that. For me, it's always like that. That my leads are not the perfect people.
Right.
It's
Right.
like
Right.
it's in there in my request and audience to follow them. It's not an obvious. I'm not an obvious person that comes like, oh, you're gonna follow that guy. Of course you're gonna follow him. No, you're gonna have you're gonna go deeper into your darker side, or into somebody that in order to feel the heart. But I ask a lot for people to connect to those characters.